All right, everyone. It was Biden's birthday the other day. He had his annual physical, and they're like, well, yeah, he has an awkward gait because he has arthritis, and he has to take, I think, Flonase and blood thinners because he had aneurysms and shit. He's got a clot filter, apparently, to keep an embolism from killing him. So he's got, for a person who's 79, he's got some health problems, but he's capable of walking. Sometimes he's even semi-coherent. One thing stood out to me when Maddow immediately wrote a fluff piece like saying, oh, it's wonderful to go back to an era in which we have normal results from the president's physical conducted by a doctor who doesn't look like he's crazy. Because remember, Trump's chosen doctor, he looked a little bit like maybe a Jedi after spending way too long in solitude hiding from the Sith. That was true. Also was a little chunky, so, when you see a doctor and they're massively overweight, don't you think there's a little bit of a problem? It's like if the doctor is smoking crack or something like that. Hey, the person who is doing the driver's ed course always has a bottle under their desk. There was one thing that stood out to me, and I wonder if anyone else caught this. Where was the mention of his mental state? Where was the mental test? Can he tell me how many fingers I'm holding up? I don't think that he can on some days. Here's the thing. Joe Biden suffers from dementia. Joe Biden has had several falls in the last year. He's had several aneurysms and an embolism in the past. He clearly has cognitive difficulties. Even the doctors admitting, well, yeah, he's got some pretty bad arthritis there, and it's easily worse than it was a year ago. On his non-complicated schedule where he's not really required to do that much and takes every weekend off, don't you think you can give him some sort of CIA super pill for his arthritis? Hell, give him fucking spinal surgery. It's not like you haven't opened him up a couple times before anyway. No real mention of his mental state. I don't care if the President of the United States has arthritis. Don't give a shit. The more significant health problems, like, having an embolism and stuff, that can be worrisome because that increases your odds of suddenly dropping dead at some point in the future. And, he's pushing 80 years old. By the way, he apparently told his aides he does actually plan to run in 24, so I'm cheering. Yeah, let's go Brandon, literally. I hope he is the nominee so that he can get curb stomped Jimmy Carter style. Probably even fucking worse. I'd be surprised if he won D.C. at some point. Be like a Nixon re-election landslide. Regardless of who runs against him potentially. It would be very, very funny to see that stinging rebuke. I care about his mental state. Like, here's what I care about. Let's say he gets the 5 a.m. call. Now, there's a bunch of missiles in the sky or something. If they have to put him in a wheelchair to get him down to the White House bunker because he can't make it in time because of his arthritis, that's okay. He's still capable of making decisions, mostly, other than, getting up and walking across the room at a quick pace. That's fine. But if he's not mentally aware and doesn't realize what's going on, that means that power immediately devolves to Kamala Harris. Technically, doctrinally. In reality, really, it devolves to a bunch of goddamn military generals that nobody elected. That's the problem. You need to have a person who is of sound mind handling these things. I love it how Maddow is pointing out, well, the doctor looked crazy. Well, at least the patient wasn't crazy. Joe Biden suffers from Alzheimer's disease. We're not sure exactly what stage he's at. Sometimes it looks like he's hitting the intermediate level. Sometimes it looks like it's sort of at the beginning. Maybe they dope him up on all sorts of drugs, give him hyperdoses of thiamine and caffeine or whatever the hell experimental treatment they decided to go forth with. But he has dementia. Everyone knows that he has dementia. His decision making is not proper. Look at the state of the economy right now if you want an example why. The things that he does and sometimes the things that he says are not normal. But they are normal for a person with dementia who's approaching 80 years old. Why is it that they go over his body with a fine-tooth comb, take his pulse, take his blood pressure, give him an x-ray, check his embolism filter or whatever, brain scan and foot massage, and hey, we're going to test your blood sugar, and can you turn and cough? We need a stool sample. He had a colonoscopy. Not Probably very fun. So the president just got, a fist shoved up his ass or whatever. So sodomized, basically. Not the sort of thing that I think I'll bother getting into. If I get rectal cancer, I'm like, well, at some point, you die anyway. I don't know. Technically, it usually happens when you're in 60s. Okay, I don't give a fuck at that point. With Biden's mental state, though, I care about him. And I'm sad to see it not gone over with any particular rigor. He wouldn't even answer during the election whether he had taken the fucking cognitive test. Can't even see his, why? Trump trotted his out. He's like, oh yeah, it was a real good test. It was really hard. And look, I did a great job on it. Now, of course, it's not hard. Identify the elephant. What is 3 plus 2? Very basic things. But he did that, I think, in part to contrast with Biden, who wouldn't even talk about the issue. You remember that when Trump did kind of make an ass of himself, rambling at length about the cognitive test that he took? I didn't see Biden's. That's because it wasn't taken. He wouldn't have passed it. He has dementia. Him focusing for an extended period of time is just not happening at this point. He has to have a prompter in front of him, probably with extra large type, which must be a hard fit in certain of these tiny-ass venues that he's got 20, 30 people at that half-heartedly cheer him on as they look at the new inflation totals. He has to have a script and people around him to mind him 24/7. He's constantly, his wife, his staff, the Secret Service detail, lead him around like a puppy. Why aren't we seeing any update about his mental state? Well, it's because they don't want to give an update. Because they'd have to admit the President of the United States is a goddamn mental vegetable. That's about all. Peace out.